and welcome back to my channel. Hello, it is me, Sarah. I'm currently editing this, and the dogs were playing the entire time that I was recording this. So if you hear dog noises, I'm really sorry. I have no control over them. And they were entertaining themselves and leaving me alone, so I let them. So I'm sorry for all of the collar jingling and like growling and biting sounds that you hear in the background. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I am going to be doing a recap of Fourth Wing. So the next book in the Fourth Wing series is coming out on November 7th. And the first book, this one came out, I want to say in like May, I think. So it's been several months since Fourth Wing initially came out. And so this video is going to recap everything that happened in the first half of the book. This is just in case maybe you don't want to read this again, or you don't have time to read this again before the next book comes out, and you just want a refresh of everything that went down, which was a lot. The next book is called Iron Flame. It is coming out on November 7th. It's not going to have the fun dragons on this. The first edition is going to have just a plain black sprayed edge. There is also a new edition of Fourth Wing coming out on the same day. You should pre-order it now if you're interested in it. It has a slight redesign of the cover. It has exclusive artwork for the end papers, and it will have plain black sprayed edges so that it will match Iron Flame. Let's talk about everything that happened in the first half of Fourth Wing. This is part 1. There will be a part 2 that will come out soon. So at the very beginning of the book Fourth Wing, we meet our main character, Violet Sorrengail, as she is walking to her mom's office, her mom, who is General Sorrengail. We find out in the beginning, in the very early chapters of this book, that in this world that Violet is in, when you turn a certain age, I want to say it's 20, you join Baisgiath War College. You get conscripted. So we open the book on conscription day, and Violet tells us that she's been training her entire life to be a scribe, to join the scribe quadrant, which is one of 4 quadrants within Baisgiath War College. Her father was a scribe, and that is something that she is very excited about doing. However, 6 months ago, her mother, General Sorrengail, informed her that no, she would not be joining the Scribe Quadrant. She was going to join the Riders Quadrant, just like the rest of her family. So Violet has had 6 months to prepare to join this very deadly quadrant of a very deadly war college. Find out there's 4 quadrants. There is the Scribe Quadrant, and scribes are in charge of like keeping histories. They're sort of librarian-esque. To me, that's what I'm imagining. There is the infantry quadrant, which is exactly what it sounds like. They're infantry. There is the healers quadrant, which are healers training to be healers. And then there is the riders quadrant. And the riders are an elite group of warriors who bond with dragons and are dragon riders and are a big part of the military structure of Fourth Wing. We find out very early on in the book that one of the reasons that Violet doesn't want to join the Riders Quadrant is because she has a couple of issues, things that make her different from everybody else. Her joints are hyperflexible, her bones break easily, and she has a huge silver streak in her hair that has been there since she was a baby. I think that Violet is Ehlers-Danlos coded. It's not explicitly stated in the books that that's what she has, but I believe that the author has said that yes, Violet has Ehlers-Danlos. Violet has 2 older siblings. She has an older sister, Mira, who is also a dragon rider who has previously graduated from Baisgiath War College and has been fighting on the front lines with her dragon. Violet also had an older brother named Brennan, who was also a dragon rider, but tragically passed away during a battle. Violet's mother is a general. She is high up within Baisgiath's war military system, and Violet's father was a scribe, but Violet's father passed away a few years ago. Violet's sister Mira takes Violet to conscription day and sees her off. Violet's sister also gives her a couple of really important things. She gives her a like armor set, suit, top, whatever you want to call it, that is made out of scales from Mira's dragon that Mira had shrunk down to make into armor for Violet. And she gives her a pair of boots that will help her cross the parapet, which is Violet's first super deadly confrontation within Baisgiath. In order to get into the Rider's Quadrant, Violet has to cross an 18-inch wide parapet, which is basically like a little tiny land bridge suspended high above a river. As Violet approaches this parapet, we meet a couple of characters. We meet Rhiannon, who becomes Violet's BFF. We meet Dylan, R.I.P. Dylan. He was only there to die within a few pages. And we meet Jack Barlow, who, for some reason, just absolutely hates Violet straight out of the gate. I don't understand why. Like, there was no reason other than he's a dickbag. Mira sends Violet off, and her parting words are, "Find Dane Atos, your childhood best friend. He is a year older than Violet, and he has been part of the Rider's Quadrant for a year now, and to stay away from Xaden Ryerson." At the parapet, we also meet Xaden Ryerson. Xaden Ryerson, the son of the failed rebellion leader, who theoretically should have it out for Violet because Violet's mom killed his dad, setting up a great enemies to lovers arc. Violet does manage to cross the parapet, and she gives Rhiannon one of her boots, which helps save Rhiannon's life when Rhiannon was crossing the parapet, and so the two are immediately BFFs. Nothing brings people closer like saving lives. As the story progresses, we learn that there are a lot of kids who are joining the Rider's Quadrant who carry rebellion relics. These are sort of like tattoos or skin markings that were given to them by a dragon for their parents' participation in the rebellion. And they all generally hate Violet because of who her mother is. We follow Violet through her first few months at Baisgiath. She essentially tries to stay alive. Baisgiath is super deadly. The other cadets frequently kill each other. People die all the time. It's just, there's a lot of dying. We discover that because of Violet's scribe training and also because of who Violet is, she is incredibly intelligent and she really exceeds in classes like Battle Brief and History class and Dragon Lore and that sort of thing. But she does really struggle with the physical aspect of being at Baisgiath, like sparring. Mira manages to bribe a scribe to sneak in a special little book that was written by Brennan, Violet's older brother, and this proves to be extremely helpful for Violet because it's basically like a cheat code for Baisgiath. Violet finds out how she can see who her sparring opponents are going to be a couple days beforehand, and so she develops a plan to use her wits over her brawn in order to win sparring challenges. Violet, we discover, because of her intelligence, is a apparently master poisoner. And so she continuously concocts little poisons for her opponents so that she doesn't have to fight them. And it ultimately saves her life. On one outing where she is out after dark trying to collect materials for her poison, she is up in a tree collecting things, and a group of the kids with relics come up and Xaden is with them. And so Violet hides and overhears Xaden giving them tips and pointers about how to stay alive, how to do well in classes, etc. Xaden always knew that Violet was hiding up there, and so when he discovers her, he says, "You keep this secret for me, I will owe you a favor." And so Violet agrees to keep his secret. Violet and her classmates start training for what's called Presentation Day. And this is where they have to climb a gauntlet, American Ninja Warrior style, in order to get up to the flight field to basically parade themselves in front of the dragons willing to bond, so that the dragons can get a good look at everybody and see if they want to bond. Upon training, beginning training on this gauntlet, Violet discovers that she is too short to finish the gauntlet, which is a 90-degree ramp, just like the end of American Ninja Warrior, that she can't climb up because she's too short. A couple of days before Presentation Day, Violet again finds herself hiding from Xaden in a dark corner, and Xaden discovers that she is there, and they have a little chat in which Xaden tells her that the right way to do something doesn't necessarily mean that it's the only way. And this gives Violet the little clue that she needed to figure out how she could get up the gauntlet without dying and make it to presentation day. So Violet does manage to climb the gauntlet. She takes a knife with her and stabs it in the ramp and hoists herself up and manages to survive the gauntlet on presentation day. There is an argument between the leaders in which Violet schools them all on the codex for riders. During presentation day, as all of the cadets are walking through, parading themselves in front of the dragons, the cadets discover that there is a very small golden feather tail dragon that is at presentation day, meaning that it's willing to bond. Some of the characters, i.e. Jack Barlow, notorious dickbag, think that that's ridiculous and decide that they want to kill the golden dragon. During threshing, all of the cadets are kind of dropped in this sort of like big open forest jungle-esque thing, and the dragons are down there looking for the cadets that they're wanting to bond for. They're all looking for each other. So during threshing, Violet has been out there for a couple hours. She climbs up a tree and she sees the smaller golden dragon. And at the same time, Jack Barlow and his two buddies walk up the path, also see the small golden dragon, and decide, hey, let's go kill it. As one does. Don't even get me started on that. Violet manages to make it to the small golden dragon before Jack gets there and tries to convince it to leave, but it does not. And so Jack and his buddies happen upon the two of them and a fight ensues. Violet throws a knife, hits Jack in the shoulder. He runs away. Violet also manages to take down another opponent. Xaden shows up with Sigale, and Xaden is like helping her fight even though he's not really supposed to be there. Upper classmen leadership are not allowed to help, but Xaden does narrate for her. While they're fighting, the biggest, hugest black dragon shows up to protect the golden dragon. When that dragon shows up, Sigale and Xaden, they peace out, they leave. That dragon speaks to Violet in her mind. And that dragon kills one of Zach's buddies, but Violet decides to leave Orin alive, the one that she knocked out. That dragon is Enoch, and the only reason he could speak to her in his mind is because he is going to bond with Violet. So Violet bonds with the biggest, baddest black dragon, one of two that there is. He's so big, in fact, that when Violet climbs up on his back and they take off, she immediately falls off. Violet falls off several more times. Luckily, Taryn catches her. Unluckily, for some of the cadets, their dragons don't catch them. When Violet arrives back at the flight field, she gives Taryn's name to the roll keeper, and the small golden dragon says, and also, my name is Andarna, and you have bonded with me as well. And so then there's a big argument about whether or not Violet can bond with two dragons, and ultimately the dragons decide that yes, Violet can bond with two dragons. So Violet bonded with the biggest dragon and also the smallest dragon. Dane, Violet's BFF, who continuously has been trying to convince Violet to leave and join the Scribe Quadrant because he doesn't think she's able to do this and he doesn't want to see her die, tries to convince Violet that she should bond with the smaller dragon because it makes her less of a target. Honestly, Dane is a douchebag and we hate him. While all of this is going on, we find out that Taryn, Violet's new dragon, and Sigale, Aiden's dragon, are a mated pair, which means they cannot be separated. And in a sort of roundabout way, it also means that if Violet were to die, it could also theoretically kill Xaden. Because Taryn is super powerful, his bonds are extremely strong, and when his last rider died, trying to save Violet's brother's life, it almost killed Taryn and almost killed Sigale because they're bonded. When this scene on the flight field is wrapping up, Dane kisses Violet, which is something that Violet has secretly been wanting for a while because she's had a little crush on Dane for forever, but it turns out Violet didn't enjoy it as much as she thought she was going to. Find out that Imogen is going to be training Violet
doing some strength training so that she can ride on Tarn because he's enormous. Violet got a patch for her rider's leathers, and it is the Iron Squad patch, which means that her squad kept the most people alive. And Violet also reminds us that she is in the Flame section, which happens to be the title of the next book, Iron Flame. And that makes me wonder if the next book is going to be about Violet keeping people alive, or that maybe she's going to be like a section leader or something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that was a clever little trick to put the name of the next book in the book. We find out that there are 41 unbonded riders this year. There was only a limited number of dragons who were willing to bond in the first place, and since Violet has bonded 2 dragons, this puts a huge target on Violet's back. So that was part 1 of my recap. That was just the first half of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. The second half will be incoming. I just have to go back through it and make notes and that sort of thing. But if you found this recap helpful, please, please, please comment, like, subscribe, all of those things, and stay tuned for the next part that will be coming out in another week or so. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.